If I can ask everyone to take a seat for our closing session, please. And it's been brought to my attention, the sign-in form is for the voting reps of our partner organizations. So please fill that out. If you do not know if your organization's voting rep is here, you think you might be the only person representing your partner organization, you can fill out the form. We're thinking through some of those things. If you do not know if your organization is a partner organization, if you do not know your partner organization's type, we are working through all of those things. We want ESIP to be an inclusive and welcoming place. So please let us know if you're here, and we're working through some of the formalities to figure out what makes the most sense there. So I'm going to just start out with the fun part, right? So this morning was really fun, and I am sure that everyone is really eager to see how that turned out. I would say that this is democracy in action, using your voice and your vote to spark change. What could be better than that? And I want to thank all of the people who were bold and creative and stepped forward, went out on a limb, took a little risk, and put their ideas down on paper with marker and submit an idea, and thank everyone who voted. So here are our winners. So for the teachers and students, we have Teaching Differently, Abled Learners to be Citizen Scientists by Pam Freeman from Kenmore East. We have A Day in the Life from Tom Freeman, also from Kenmore East. I have to disclose, I did not vote, but I grew up like 20 minutes from Kenmore East. So I love that they have been longtime active participants at the teacher workshop, regardless of where we have our meeting. So great to see that going to really impact those students directly. And then our third winner in this category is Fusion Framework for Unifying Systematic Integration of Observational Networks by Debish from Texas A&M. And I have to say, he did a great job orally presenting that poster. I thought it was super compelling, so great job. And then for our general attendees, our winners are Cypher, Communities Yielding Power by Harnessing Emergent Resources by Amy from Howard University. Second, we have Enhancing Indigenous Data Management Capacities from Andrew Child with University of Idaho. And Help Desk Data at Risk with Chandra and Neon. So if you are one of those winners, the ESIP staff will be in touch with you and will explain how the process works to manage those projects and get you your funding. So I hope that you all enjoyed that portion of our meeting. I am going to need the notes section for this part, I believe. Thank you. So the last few years, we haven't gotten a lot of feedback from you all. We have not had the highest participation on the overall meeting survey, the SCED feedback for each session. And so we've decided this year to start having some incentives, right? Make it a contest, have some giveaways so that you all feel, it takes 3 seconds to give SCED feedback after a session. So we, through our sponsorships, Explore Asheville has donated some prizes, and we have some ESIP swag. So I just have a few names to call out. And if you are here, come up and Allison will give you your prizes. So SCED feedback for Tuesday, we looked at everybody who submitted feedback on Tuesday and we drew a name. And the lucky winner for Tuesday's prize is Rama. On Wednesday, our winner was Bradley Hazuka. Is Bradley here? All right. On Thursday, our winner was Paul Lemieux. He just left. Will you take it for him? Okay. And today, we were like, oh, is there going to be any feedback on the last day? Today's winner is Ryan Berkheimer. Come on up, Ryan. Yeah. There's good stuff in there. And I'm not sure what it means, but my slide says, is the bonus one? Oh, okay. Uh, okay. The not on here. Andy Barrett. Oh, I missed that. Andy Barrett is the winner of the badge game. Oh, we'll have to. All right. Well, you know what? I've got a bonus name on here that I get to go to. Is John Graybeal here? Oh, shoot. All right. Well, I will tell you as a teaser, you should have gotten an email today that has the link to the overall meeting evaluation survey. The first few people that, if you complete that meeting survey before lunch starts, we've got 2 more prizes to give away. So the QR code for that will be up on the screen in a little bit, but it also is in an email that you have. And don't fill it out incompletely just to be the first one to submit. Like it's got to, you got to have something in there for us, right? So this is what we call our annual business meeting. And as I think of it, an annual business meeting doesn't sound really fun or inviting or exciting. We might be looking to change that to be our annual community meeting or our annual stakeholders meeting. But I'm going to start with a brief overview on the state of ESIP, this organization. And this will be shorter than usual without our federal sponsor updates that we usually do. And that is to allow time for an interactive exercise. As we've shared over the week, we have this tree exercise led by Mark Parsons and a team of folks to help us inform ESIP's next strategic plan. From there, we will move into our official leadership transition. And finally, we will caucus by partner type to fill our administrative committees for the year. We have people online as well, and we hope that you can follow along and participate in the online environment. So the state of ESIP. While individuals are the heart of ESIP, ESIP is an organization of organizations. This year, we're excited to add 7 new partners to ESIP, bringing the total number of ESIP partners to over 180. We are also excited to have 4 additional partners in our pipeline right now, currently under review. And I'm excited that just this week, I've had at least 2 or 3 people approach me about how to submit their partnership application and become more engaged. So in short, the community is active and agile and growing. And if you would like to know more about partnership, ask a member of the staff or the board or visit our website. While it can be easy to see ESIP as our 2 large meetings each year, like this one, the ESIP community is active 52 weeks a year. And when I looked at that this morning, I thought, well, it might be 51 because next week might be a little quiet. I'm not going to lie. We have over 30 collaboration areas composed of clusters and committees. Altogether, in the last year, these groups held nearly 200 meetings that were supported by community leaders, our community fellows, and our staff. When you add up all of the people on those calls, we count over 2,000 hours of collective community engagement that comes together through ESIP. That's beyond what happens in meetings like this week. Interesting to note are the outputs of this work. They're often saved in our Figshare repository, and they are viewed and they are used. With over 29,000 downloads in the last year, and that was an increase of 55% from the previous year. Each group is different with specific aims and goals and outcomes. Some groups host webinars and have, bring in experts. Other groups work on sessions for meetings like this, develop white papers and other outputs. It really depends on the need of each group and what they are specifically looking to achieve. Here is our current list of collaboration areas. If you are a current chair of one of our collaboration areas, can you please stand? Excellent. Can I get a round of applause for these folks? And there are many, many more also. Volunteer leaderships of these groups is essential. This is not a static list either. And to me, that shows the agility and the vitality of ESIP. In just the last 3 days, I have heard numerous great suggestions for new needed collaboration areas. This shows the vibrancy of the community. Any ESIP partner organization can propose a new collaboration area, and those proposals are reviewed by the ESIP program committee. The ESIP lab had another strong year. The lab serves as our experimentation and incubation space. If you attended Rich Signal's unconference session on Coiled yesterday, you get a glimpse of just what we're trying to do in the ESIP lab space. With our lab grants, we have seen how a small investment to an early career researcher or a new group effort can take an idea from concept to reality. This past year, the focus of our lab awards was wildfire and water, with the funded projects listed here. These projects are now complete, and we were excited to partner with this year's funded projects, working to advance topics including forest monitoring, pollinator composition, fog detection, and drinking water service area boundaries. For the coming year, the focus of our ESIP Lab Awards is climate change and community resilience. I am thrilled to share that we received a record number of proposals. I'm thrilled about that. Those who proposed might not be quite as excited about the record number. I recognize that. We are currently in the process of proposal review, and we look forward to making a funding announcement later in August. Another focus in the last 2 years has been enhancing ESIP's communication functions. As a virtual organization, our website and electronic communications are our front door. I hope you have noticed a refreshed ESIP update, our new blog, our new graphics for clusters, social media, and most visibly, our new website. We commit to keep evolving and improving our communications with you and how you access our programs and products. I mean, look at some of these metrics. I get really excited about these, right? Over 1,300 folks receive our weekly ESIP update email. That's an increase of 15% in the last year. And even better, I mean, I know my inbox, right? 44% of you actually open that email. And for anyone who knows email marketing rates, that's really high. So thank you for opening our email. We notice. And our open rate has actually increased 2% in the last year. So hopefully we are giving you the content that you are looking for. I often hear, how international is ESIP really? And one measure of that is that the ESIP update is received in 21 global time zones, right? Yes, we're missing 3. They're mostly water. We'll try to do better next year. Slack. For those of you active in the ESIP community, you know that our Slack space is really active and engaging. And if you are new, please join our ESIP Slack space. We have over 2,000 people engaging in Slack, and our engagement in that space has increased 12% in the last year. And then the one that I'm really, really excited about, we put a lot of work into our new website. It's not perfect. It's always going to be iterating and improving, but since the launch of our new website in March, our website visits have increased 64%. That's the front door of a virtual organization. Oh, I'll let you clap. That all goes to Allison and her team. We want that website to be a place where people can really understand and engage with ESIP, and change is hard. And maybe we moved a link or a button that you really liked, and we'll try and get it back in there where you want it. But that increase in reach really showed us that those improvements were absolutely worth it. So I hope that you like the new website, and we'll continue to keep working on it. And lastly, in 2024, I wanted to look at our meetings and events. So to me, it is the camaraderie and the people and the pure joy of gathering together, both virtually and in person, that make all the work more fun. Meetings at ESIP include gatherings like this week and our January virtual meeting, but they also include numerous workshops and meetings we do in support for our agency partners, and events like Ignite at AGU and the Data Help Desk. So just look at these numbers, and these cover only our January and July meetings. And to me, this is community coming together. Our meetings are community contributed, so you all deserve most of the credit and the praise for the experience this week. Looking ahead, consider this your invitation to join us in January virtually and July in Seattle. We look forward to seeing you, and I'm curious to know if I'm going to need bigger spaces in the years to come. So no state of ESIP would be complete without a bit of an insight into our financials. And I apologize if the print is too small, but this is from our financial year 23 figures. They are also in our annual report. You can find this exact same graphic there. I'm pleased to report that we continue to have strong financial performance. Our annual audit was again clean. Thank you to Patty Allen, our operations director, for all the work she does on that front. If you get excited and interested in the numbers, I invite you to join our finance committee. And if you're interested in numbers, but you're like, I don't know numbers, we'll teach you. I am always happy to talk to people about transparency and nonprofit financial management. I was sitting in some sessions today, and sometimes there are huge budgets associated with the work of this community and the work that you all do in your agencies. When I think of the size of ESIP's budget, right? I can't even read it from here. 1.5, 1.6, 1.8 maybe million. I think we get a huge return on investment for that is the total budget of all of ESIP. But I do wonder, what would it look like if we got that number to 3 million or 4 million, right? I do think that this community adds an amazing multiplier effect in that regard. Thanks for making the numbers bigger. Yeah, 1.2. See, I'm dreaming big. Looking over time, I like to show you kind of a multi-year perspective on our financial stability. This is a 5-year look at that. You see our net assets, our endowment, and our board designated reserve. You can see that our net assets have grown steadily. Our endowment, that is the restricted pool of funding for our Raskin Scholarship, when you heard from Brandon yesterday. That has been pretty steady. And our reserve has grown from $30,000 nearly 5 years ago to almost $200,000 in just 5 years. And I'm personally really proud of that. A healthy nonprofit should have a minimum of 3 to 6 months operating costs in reserve. And while we aren't there yet, we've made great progress over the last 3 to 4 years. So ESIP would not be who we are without the support we receive from our federal sponsors, NASA, NOAA, and USGS. I can't underscore that enough. Not only do they provide multi-year funding to support the community, but as you can see here this week, they infuse the community with their people. This year, I am excited to announce that we have added a 4th federal funding partner, the U.S. Forest Service. So for the last 7 years, NASA and the U.S. Forest Service have convened a group called AEOIP, the Applied Earth Observing Innovation Partnership, aimed at looking at Earth observation needs of the land management community and facilitate knowledge exchange. And if you look at the ESIP list of clusters that we had up there, I'm not going to do a pop quiz, but we don't have a land management cluster. That's interesting, right? So in the coming year, we will be working with the leadership of AEOIP with some funding from the Forest Service to help them explore how an expanded partnership with the ESIP community could further their work. This is a smaller partnership than what we see with our 3 core sponsors, but it is important to know that we are always looking to bring in new partners and new agencies. And as those in the fundraising world would say, no gift is too small or too big. We are excited to have new partners in the mix, and grow those partnerships and sponsorships over time. What I will point out is there's a lot of white space on this chart, right? We would be happy to work with more agencies, more organizations, more foundations to grow the reach of the work that we're doing. So the community is strong and healthy, and we want to hear from you how we can continue to grow and evolve and meet those ever-evolving needs. So at this point in the program, I am going to turn things over to Mark Parsons to lead our tree exercise and our strategic visioning. And then I will come back to close out with our leadership transition and move into committee caucusing. So come on up, Mark.
Hi, everyone. First thing I'm going to do is make you move because we are experimenting. We're going to try and do something to get all your feedback beyond the tree. We want you to refine the tree. We're trying to collect data. So would you all please evenly distribute yourselves, roughly 4 per table, to tables numbered 1 through 20. Is this complex? So if you're not at a table, you can also move the labels. You don't have to move yourselves. But no tables of 1 or 2, no tables of 7 or 8. Good job, Rich. That's the way to do it. You need to be somewhere. You can't just sit by yourself. No, nobody's allowed to sit by themselves. So there's oh, when you bumblebee, yeah, that's different. So, but okay. Okay, you all are evenly distributed because you're gonna have to work with these people, so you don't want huge groups. Okay. So what we are talking about here is we're actually not talking about strategies for ESIP. We're talking about an information gathering exercise to enable us to create strategies for ESIP. A few months ago, Denise asked me to lead a team reassessing ESIP strategic themes. So ESIP has about a half a dozen strategic themes, which I'm deliberately not showing them to you because some of them are pretty arm wavy, like make data matter. Great tagline, but what does it mean? How is that strategic? So I assembled a committee in consultation with Denise and Susan of people representing our major sponsors, people representing different constituencies, people who I just like. And that I think can think strategically. And so we've had a couple telecons trying to figure out what exactly our charge was, reassess these strategic themes, but particularly in light of our new mission and vision. And so we have this lovely new mission and vision, which I'm sure you have all committed to memory. But the vision is where data-driven solutions are a reality by making earth science data actionable by all who need them anytime, anywhere. All data, anytime, anywhere. You can remember that, right? That's our vision. Our mission is empowering the innovative use and stewardship of that data to solve our planet's greatest challenges. So pretty catchy mission vision. But what does that mean in terms of translating it down to the actual work of my clock is not going, so I'm assuming that I have all the time in the world. What does that mean in terms of translating this mission and vision down into real action? So we are a volunteer-led group. All of our clusters and committees, which do the bulk of ESIP's work, do whatever the heck they want to, really. And we hope that it's working towards the vision and mission. But we don't really know. And when we looked at the past strategic themes, the board of a few years ago broke that down into specific tasks. Some of those tasks were for staff. Some of those tasks were for boards. Some of those tasks were kind of amorphous as to who would do them. So we kind of realized as we were talking that we have these sort of tensions, that we're really good at this mission vision thing. The staff is great. They have their operational strategies down, but there's a gap in between the sort of work of the clusters and committees and this vision and mission. And also there's sort of a tension in what is ESIP really doing? We know it convenes 2 meetings a year. We know it facilitates the work of a bunch of clusters, but does it provide services? It provides some services. What should it extend that? Some are pushing for more services. Some are saying, no, it's just good to be a collaboration forum. So bottom line is we realize we need to get more input from you. We need to get a better sense of what you think ESIP is and what ESIP is doing. And so that was the tree exercise. This is our lovely tree. Just to reiterate, and so you can get to that tree. That tree is now, both of those trees have now been put onto a Miro board. Please go to this URL. There is also a link. If you go to the SCED page for this session, there's a link to this Miro board, and there's a link to a folder, which I'm also going to send you to, because you all have to do work. And it's going to be kind of fast and frenzied. But you'll see on this tree of ESIP, so we were trying to get at what are the fruits of ESIP, what are the things that that you feel ESIP produces for you, and for your organization. What flies beyond ESIP and has greater impact? Those little birds. What's the core of ESIP, the trunk that has to exist in order to produce things? And then what's the environment that the tree lives in, that ESIP lives in? What's the air, the nutrients, the water, the lovely mycelia that allow our tree to communicate with other trees? And so thank you. You all did that. I've recorded that on the board. So, but now we want to try and do sort of a sense-making exercise of all of that. So please go to so for everyone in your group, someone is going to probably need to be driving on a laptop. Maybe you can do it on a phone, but if you have more skills than I. And I would need you to go to that folder that's linked off the SCED page, and also this Miro board of the tree. I would link to that, but I would click that link, but I don't know how. But it looks kind of like those. And what I'm going to ask you, so we're going to go through a series of several questions that I'm going to ask your group to try and address. So you will see you have a table number. Those of you online, you will be, Megan's going to sort you into groups. You all get to choose your groups. I don't know how many people are online. And we're going to go through a series of questions that we wanted you to start to make some sense of all these different stickies on the tree. So first off, has everybody found the tree? Is anybody having any issues? Everybody's got the tree. Everybody's got their little things. Okay. So what I want you to do is I'm going to give you 4 minutes of actual quiet time. So don't talk. Just digest. And look at the tree, sort of begin to think of these questions. What patterns do you see? What patterns stand out as important in helping us tune into the value that ESIP offers the community? So I'm going to give you 4 minutes to just think. Think now. Okay, 4 minutes of silence is obviously really hard for you all. So we'll stop at 3. The purpose of this was actually to allow people who don't think with their mouths to think a little bit. But now you've all had a chance to look at the tree, maybe digest it a little bit. Hopefully you all have found, there's 3 Google slide decks, one for the online folks, 2 for the folks in the room. And you'll notice that there's slides for each of your tables. So your table number will have a set of 4 slides. Does that all make sense? Can you all find this? We want to get your feedback and report back on this. Anybody struggling to find the slides? All tables have slides. You all know what you're doing. Those of you that can do it on your phone, I'm impressed. Okay. So what I want you to do is spend like 10 minutes chatting amongst your friends at your table to answer these questions on that first slide for your group. What patterns do you see? What patterns stand out as important to help us tune in to the value of ESIP? We're all ultimately trying to, build the value of ESIP. All All right, so have at it. Collaborate. Now you can talk to each other. Bumblebees start circulating. So we're going to also have a few people cross-pollinating the groups, circulating around, listening to what you're all talking about.
For those of you that are having trouble, if you just have a phone and you're having trouble seeing the Miro board, a lot of what is on the digital board is also on the physical board in the back of the room. So if that works better for your learning style or your technology brain space, you can walk over to the physical tree and look at that if that helps you synthesize some of the ideas. The physical tree is not as complete as the virtual one, but it allows us to connect with those people that are online and not here in the room.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being guinea pigs on this. I know it wasn't all easy to work on a phone, and apparently NASA people have issues. NASA always has IT connection issues. I speak as a former worker for NASA. Sorry about that, but thank you for persevering. So I've had several people circulating amongst your tables. We're calling them the bumblebees, riffing on our tree metaphor. I'm big into metaphors, if you know me. So they've been cross-pollinating. So Marshall, you want to take a mic and give us some takeaways that you've observed?
Yeah, so I spend most of my time sitting on table 9, but I also walk around, just make sure all the tables are working on the slides and know where to input. But the takeaway from table 9, as I can see here, is some core values provided or enabled by ESIP communities. The first one is the spaces for community collaboration, and also provide the communication opportunities for people to work together and share ideas. And second is a space for people to spark innovative ideas on focus topics spanning from Earth observation, data collection, discovery, stewardship to data analysis, computing, and visualization. And then following up, I can see others like standard development, bringing the community to stand together, culture of inclusivity, and also the last one I think is very important is fostering the next generation.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
Do we have anything from the online folks? I don't have a view into the chat. Megan said she might put something in the chat. I'm looking at the back of the room for tech people. Okay, be mindful of that next time. One more bumblebee. Who wants to go? Go, Kathy.
So listening over your shoulders, I was hearing a lot about sort of the value of ESIP as a community and community-driven topics, especially at ESIP conferences. Hearing about the value of ongoing education. So there were a couple of folks who dropped that, hey, I never heard about this particular ontology or toolkit, and I learned about that here at ESIP, and that was something that stood out, that we should continue moving forward.
Great. So moving right along, because we're trying to get as much out of you as we can in a short time. So now you've had a sense to digest a little bit of what's on the board and what that sense of value is and how the core attributes contribute. But then given how fast our world is changing, 3 to 5 years from now could bring big changes to your work and our shared work. So these questions, and there's actually 2 slides for this, one for each question, ask you to do, more of an analysis. So you've identified the what, now we're doing the so what. So what areas of work will need to adapt, change, speed up to keep up? What tensions will emerge? So I'll give you another 10, 12 minutes, see how it's going. And for that, so this is now for your slides 2 and 3. So one for each of these questions. Have at it. So I have a report from the online group. I will start with them. ESIP enables group interactions, bottom-up driven collaborations versus top-down. The value leans more toward participation in ESIP versus sponsors, which could be a challenge. In other words, the participants may see more value than the sponsors. The bottom-up nature leads to weak links between activities and communication of benefits, agility as a proving ground or test community. Endorsements are one way of moving ESIP outputs to the rest of the world. So that's sort of a synthesis, I think, of what the online group concluded. Other bumblebees, Denise.
Yep, should be on. I've heard some really great things, really great discussion. One of the things I wanted to highlight, which I thought was somewhat insightful, is one of the tensions is between this feeling that we may be running out of time, that it may then erode kind of the ESIP can-do attitude. He's very happy that I called that one out. But I think that is a good tension. Another tension is, what the funding bodies may need versus the actual work that is getting done in clusters and how to better coordinate those types of efforts. So yeah, I focused on tensions. I'm sorry. Somebody has to, and I think those are two really kind of insightful ones.
Yeah. Susan, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I found that it was interesting. A couple groups were like almost apologetic for looking at the tensions. And I said, you know what, like if what comes out of this exercise is yay, ESIP collaboration, that doesn't yield a strategic plan, right? So we have to talk about the tensions. And so we were talking about how, to be able to prepare to respond to the changes that come in the next 5 to 10 years, we need to know what those tensions are so we can see them and face them head on. So certainly the time urgency I also heard tensions across sectors, right? And we talked about that in January, right? And like what should the private sector be working on and what should be inherently federal and what things need sustaining and what things only really have to be new and emerging, and how does the funding work across those sectors, right? There's certain funding types that will only pay for the bright new shiny thing and the sustainability of it. And then I also heard just some talks about federal agencies working together, right? And that they like to come to ESIP and to work together, but the challenges with navigating different platforms and whether your agency will allow you into the spaces were some of the tensions I heard.
Great. Yeah. So friction is inevitable. Tensions, friction. Friction is actually a good thing. Without friction, a wheel goes nowhere. It just spins in the air. So it's working through these frictions that actually make us work as a community. So there's a lot to discuss here. We'll get more into this, I'm sure, but I want to get to our last question, which is how might you imagine ESIP being able to bridge these tensions in the future? So I will give you again another 10 minutes and then we'll get full Bumblebee reports. All right. So I'd like to give each Bumblebee an opportunity to report the high level things that they heard. We have exactly 6 minutes and 30 seconds, so please be brief. Who wants to go first? Denise.
Couple things. Change happens one coffin at a time.
What? Say that again.
Change happens one coffin at a time. So that's just something to keep in mind. One of the brilliant things I heard to help move these things forward is double, triple, quadruple ESIP staff, paid staff, because they already carry a large load and we are probably going to start asking them to carry more. But that there is a lot that works, and that we need to keep that in mind as that we don't break what is already working as we're looking to improve.
Great. You want to pass it to Kathy?
So I have two really interesting opposite ends of the spectrum here. I heard one group suggest that ESIP should be a cabinet level position at the US government, which I thought was like thinking outside the box. I liked it. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I heard one cluster specifically talking about partnering with some of these underserved or historically underserved communities, and reinvigorating their cluster with these community collaborations. So I thought those were two very different ends of the spectrum for moving ESIP forward with these tensions.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Marcia?
I think for that question, how might you imagine ESIP being able to bridge these tensions in the future? Especially on the table 9, we discussed like in the past when the ESIP winter meeting was still in person, because the location is in DC. We usually can have many leaders or officials from those government agencies, like for example, NSF, NASA, NOAA, USGS, EPA, they can join. And then there can be some interactions between researchers and especially the funding program officers to discuss. But now with the winter meeting being virtual, I don't know what that opportunities still exist. But on this table, we discuss probably we can think about some other alternative ways. For example, in AGO meeting, usually those government agencies, they will send delegates, they will send a groups of POs to AGO meeting. So can we propose, for example, a breakout meeting between the ESIP community and the government agencies? And also for the work within ESIP, we thought about another virtual activity. For example, in the between of the January and July meeting, we're thinking about a state of the clusters flash mob. Basically, it's like a half a day or 1 day virtual meeting for all the clusters, or at least all the active committees and the clusters, to share the highlights of their work, and also to share, for example, some best practice in the activities they organize. And then other clusters, they might be able to adapt or adopt those kind of best practices. It's like a share of the starters.
Great.
Yep.
Great. Thank you. Susan?
I saw an interesting, between two different tables, I saw a number of tables talking about engaging other groups, engaging more diverse groups, engaging tribes, underserved communities, a lot of, where do we go in the user engagement direction? And then on another table, I saw, right, like what is the right size for ESIP, right? And that's something I always am thinking about, right? How do we keep the technical focus of the community so that those of you that say, oh my gosh, I found my people, that we're your people, but how do we do that while expanding the reach of the organization in a field that's really growing, right? And so I think looking at both of those is really interesting.
Great, thanks. And then from online, I have a comment. ESIP as a community of communities, local ESIP hubs, chapters. Was E2SIP a possible example of this? This was ESIP Down Under, with Australia trying to act ESIP-like. Balancing physical and virtual community aspects, look at geographic distribution of members to identify potential locations for physical communities for local gatherings. Global progressive events, so moving through the time zones. So those are all some great ideas. Thank you all. This was I wish I could try and synthesize everything, but it's not going to be possible. But the community, the committee, there they are again up on the screen. So contact your favorite community member if you have further thoughts. The Miro board and the slide decks that you all have just contributed to will be open for the next month. We will put a message out in the ESIP update that 44% of you read. And so maybe this will up, let's get that above 50. And the plan is then for the committee to try and digest all this information that we've gotten from you, translate that into what we see as meaningful high-level strategies, if you will, for ESIP that will help bridge this connection between the work of the clusters and committees and our grand mission and vision, and understand really what ESIP wants to be over the next, say, 5 years. Our goal is to have a report to the board by the next ESIP meeting, which is actually pretty ambitious, but we will try. So again, give us your feedback, and thank you all for indulging us in this exercise. You all were great.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you to everyone for just great conversations and discussion and your feedback. I can tell you when I started at ESIP 4 years ago, almost to the day, right? I came to the virtual meeting that year. And shortly after arriving, the board said, well, Susan, we didn't want to like write a strategic plan and then just hand it to you. So we want you to lead the creation of our strategic themes. And I must have stared at someone quite blankly. And I was like, you people realize I had not heard of this organization 2 months ago. That's a huge responsibility. And so the creation of our current iteration of our strategic themes was very board led, as is appropriate. But I want to make sure that we practice what we preach, right? That we're gathering data and that we are really community led and community driven. So, I counted, there are about 85 of you here in the room. There are about 25 people online. So, because those of you in the room don't know how many people are online, and so that's, over 100 people contributing your ideas, contributing your thoughts. I feel that that's a really good foundation for our next iteration of our strategic plan. And as Mark said, we will keep that open, right? I know you all. You know how to go into a Google slide deck and add more thoughts, right? You can copy a slide and create another one, rename it, and say this is just my own personal rant if you want, right? Like it's a great way to give us your feedback so that we can incorporate that for you. So we're almost to the end of a really amazing week, and I do have a number of thank yous. The costs of our meeting this week are not covered by our federal agreements other than the staff time to pull it up. We are incredibly grateful to the sponsors listed here. Their support makes these meetings possible. Our event last night, sponsored by Riverside and Friends, and I want to emphasize the Friends. There are many other companies that contributed that as well on the Riverside team. Wonderful event, and I hope that we can do events like that in the future. Element 84 has been a fantastic sustainability sponsor. That is resources, but also conversations and encouraging us and challenging us how we can lower the environmental impact of our meetings, and we really appreciate that support. AGU, our longstanding sponsor of the Research Showcase, ESRI and SSAI with our caffeine and our coffee breaks, and then lastly, Explore Asheville. And they have been a fantastic local sponsor, helping us and encouraging us to get you all out into the community. So we appreciate all of that. I got thrown off there for a second, sorry. We need you to complete the meeting evaluation for this week. If you don't get the quick QR code now, it will be up on screen throughout our lunchtime. It's really important that we get your feedback, right? Hearing that conversation of, I know some of you missed that in-person January meeting, right? And, giving us your feedback about meetings, we really listen to it, we iterate on it, and that's how we improve and make the meetings something that you want. Yes, Tom? Oh, if someone can work to change the QR code, not by lunchtime, to make it not sign up for Wednesday's dinner, that would be great. Our team has worked so hard this week. I can't even say how much they do behind the scenes that you never see, but thank you, Tom, for letting us know that. We'll get that fixed for us. I have to ask for a huge round of applause for our community fellows. It is quite simple. We could not do a meeting like this without their help. I have federal sponsor agencies say, hey, I want my federal agency workshop to be like ESIP July meeting. And I just have to say it is not possible. Well, give me 10 community fellows and pay for their time for the week and get them out of their classes and all their responsibilities and give us about $250,000, right? Like that's what it takes. I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible with enough money and great people, right? These community fellows are really fantastic. I hope you have gotten to know them throughout the week, ask them about their research, their career ambitions, their work. It is our aim that this program launches these individuals into their careers and into this community, right? And when I see folks like Douglas Rao and Brandon Whitehead, I know that this program works, right? Because I see the results and I hear about fellows. We have a past community fellow starting with the USGS on Monday, right? Like it works and we're really proud of it. And so if you know someone who you think would be a good community fellow for ESIP, help us expand our reach to the universities that send people to apply for this program. Our call for new fellows will be coming out soon and it will be announced. You'll see it in Slack and the ESIP update. I want to thank ESIP's elected leadership, our board and our technical committee chairs. This is an incredible group of leaders. If I could ask our board and our technical committee chairs to stand. I especially want to thank our outgoing leadership. Amber Budden is our outgoing governance committee chair. Dave Blodgett is our outgoing IT&I chair, and Shelley Olds is our outgoing education committee chair. I also want to thank those of you who have served on our administrative committees this year. Could you please stand if you served on a committee this year? Woohoo! There's a lot more than that. Oh, Leslie's saying someone's not standing up, I think. You were outed. So our committees turn over each July. At the end of this meeting, when our leadership turns over, our committees turn over. And sometimes we aren't always clear about that. And someone says, why am I not on the committee anymore? Oh, well, you didn't sign up again. We're like, oh, well, I wanted to sign up again. So I want to make that clear that the committees turn over each year. And so I hope that you will consider serving on one of our committees. And if you have questions, you can ask our board or some of those folks that just stood what it means to serve on an ESIP committee. So it is my privilege to introduce you to your new ESIP board and program committee for the coming year. They were elected by the Partnership Assembly voting reps last month. We have two new committee chairs. Carla McCullough is again returning for another term, a new term, as our Education Committee Chair, and Chris Battisto is our new IT&I Committee Chair. And for our board, we're pleased to welcome John Relf as our new Governance Committee Chair. And now I would like to ask Denise Hills, our board president, to give us some parting remarks before we break out and caucus for our committees, which we can do over lunch.
We made it. We made it. I've got to tell you, this week is one of the most tiring weeks of my year, and it is one of the most rewarding. And I want to thank each and every one of you here, online, whether you could attend this year or not. Thank you for making ESIP what it is. But we can't do it alone. ESIP staff, huge thank you to everything they do and everything you don't see they're doing. All that behind the scenes work, not just here, but throughout the year. Can we please give them a giant round of applause? Really, we could not be what we are without them. And I want to remind you that this staff is lean and they are so incredible. My job as ESIP board president is made easy because of the staff. And it is my pleasure. I don't really know what to say. I'm so pleased to see so many people here for a business meeting. I heard somebody say this is the best business meeting I've ever attended for any organization. But that's what ESIP is. We are a community, and this should be community led and community driven. And y'all make that easy. If you have any interest in ESIP leadership, whether it is at a collaboration area level or at elected level, please come talk to me or anybody who has ever served in that position. It doesn't matter if this is your first ESIP or your 20th or more. I've got to say, I got entrenched in collaboration area leadership at my first ESIP meeting. So don't let that stop you. Congratulations to all of the Funding Friday participants and winners. And thank you to everybody who has participated in or organized sessions. You are what make ESIP what it is. Let's see. So Susan alluded to this. Past couple of years, we have not actually done our caucusing for committees. For our administrative committees, which are, sorry, gosh, I am so tired. That means it's been a really good meeting. Finance, governance, partnership. Oh, is it on there? Oh, yes, it is. Oh, thank you. Finance, EDIJ, governance, partnership, and meetings. We look for at least one person from each from a partner of type 1, type 2, or type 3. We are actually going to physically caucus this year because we are not leaving this meeting. I will lock the door. We're not leaving this room until we have these committees filled. Those of you who have been here before, you know that often we break into our groups. Type 1s, if you don't know your type, you can look on the ESIP website. I think there's a QR code on the next slide that you can get there. It's not straightforward to figure this out sometimes, but so type 1s, I will encourage you to come up to this front corner. This side, I don't know if that's your right or your left because I can't remember. I'm sorry, I'm also kind of loopy. Type 2s here, type 3s in the back. Others, you can kind of mingle. But do that, like when we're done here, do that. There's a sign up. If you're online, you can just sign up from that QR code. But like I said, we want these committees to be populated. But if you have an interest and your type rep has already been assigned to that committee, reach out to the committee chairs to see if there's another way for you to be involved. Particularly for EDIJ and meetings, we require at least one representative from each of those 3 types, but we encourage more people to be involved in that. So if you are unsure of your partner type, or if your organization actually is a partner, you can go to this QR code and there are directions there for finding that. What else? QR code points to the ESIP partner directory. Then you can go to the main search page, select a partner type, and Control F to search for your partner's name. You won't find the partner types on individual listings, so you have to sort them by partner type and then search. We're working on that. The database doesn't do everything that we want yet. It's getting there. What's the next slide? Is the next slide both of them? All right, so both of those codes are now there for you. The sign up list. So what I would do, type 1s, type 2s, type 3s, others. Make sure that one person in your group is at least signed into that, it goes to that sign up sheet, and make sure that you get somebody on each of your committees. Don't break for lunch until you have that. And if you are unsure of your partner type, look in the partner directory. Like I said, sort by partner type and then do a Control F to find your partner. All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Thank you for bringing your whole self here. Break. Caucus.